Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Relationship Advice. Our first post is by Throwaway. My F26 parents staged an intervention because they think I should break up with my boyfriend M26 of 2.5 years. Not really sure where to go from here. For context, earlier this year we almost broke up. I felt like I was having to mother him, and I was doing most of the heavy lifting in our relationship. He would flake on things that were important to me and would often be fixated on his own interests and issues, even at inappropriate times. An example: within 15 minutes of coming over to comfort me when my grandfather died, he started going on and on about how well he'd played in hockey practice that day. My best friend, F27, pulled me aside and told me that he wasn't putting enough effort into the relationship and that I deserved better. I had a frank conversation where I put everything on the table. I thought I was seeing improvement, and we've been happy lately. It's almost felt like we've been back in the honeymoon phase. But my parents sat me down this morning and told me that they think he's fundamentally self-centered and that he doesn't treat me well enough. My parents and I have a great relationship, and they've spent a lot of time around my boyfriend. They usually try to be as neutral as possible when it comes to my relationships. So this really surprised me. There also haven't been any specific incidents that triggered the conversation. So these opinions are based on the day-to-day interactions they've seen. I'm really not sure what to do. I mentioned that I thought he's been making progress, but my parents said that what I've been asking for is the bare minimum, and that he's not even managed to accomplish that. They also said that I've had to hold his hand to get him there. There was a ton of overlap between what my friend and my parents said, and I feel like I'd be an idiot to ignore the same feedback from three of the closest people in my life. But I do love him, and I do think he's been trying. I feel so torn. Should I accept being the one who contributes more to the relationship? Should I give him more time to see if he can make progress? Our next post is by Throwaway. My 25M girlfriend's 23F best friend 23F makes me uncomfortable. I have been with my girlfriend Jess for 3 years now, and I love her very much. Her best friend is Liz 23F. Jess and Liz have been best friends since middle school. The problem is that I think Liz has feelings for me. It started on my birthday when Liz texted me happy birthday with a wink emoji. I didn't think much of it. I told Jess about the text message and she was unbothered. Then she gifted me a $300 cooler for my birthday. This was in front of Jess. 2 weeks ago Liz was over hanging with Jess wearing my hoodie, which I thought was strange but didn't say anything since Jess didn't mind. The line was crossed last night when I was by myself watching TV. Liz came over and said that her and Jess had plans. Jess wasn't supposed to come home another hour. We have 2 couches in our living room. One is a 3-seater, and the other is a 2-seater. Liz comes and sits on the 2-seater couch with me. I get up and tell her I need to make a call. Now Liz decides that she wants to take a shower while waiting for Jess. 45 minutes later Liz is walking around naked in our condo. At this point I just leave and call Jess to explain the current situation. Jess doesn't seem to think all of this is a big deal. Jess said she'll talk to Liz about it. Jess comes home and they go out to dinner. I don't have any feelings for Liz, but it's just uncomfortable for me. How do I get my girlfriend to understand that all this is not normal behavior? Our next post is by Throwaway. I 28M told my parents 51F, 50M and siblings the truth, and I think I broke them. Throwaway for reason that will be explained below. I 28M had dinner over at my parents' house a week ago. At some point during the night, my mother started questioning me as to why I kicked my sister, 21F, out of my house. She already knows the reasons to why, but she kept asking me to give her another chance. My father asked me to take on my sister. Originally, this was great as I travel a lot for work, so I had someone to take care of the house in my absence. She would effectively lived alone, as I am sometimes away 2 to 3 weeks out of a month. The only condition I put on her living with me was that she takes care of the house in my absence and cleans up after herself. A week after she moved in, I left for 3 weeks. When I came back, the house was a mess. No clean cutlery, dishes, nothing. The pizza box and plates was still in the same position as when I left the house 3 weeks ago, and she was sitting on the couch with 6 plates of uneaten food stacked on each other. Some had started to grow mold. I asked what is going on with the house, and she told me it's my house, my job to clean up, and why should she clean up? I told her that she is a grown woman. I never expected the house to be sparkling when I returned, but at least in the same condition as I left it. She wouldn't have died if she just cleaned up after herself, and again she said my house. my responsibilities. I just saw red. I snapped and told her to get her crap and get out of my house, and she laughed at me and said, "This is your home, now get to cleaning." Everything was funny to her until I started to throw her crap outside. She started with the waterworks, and when that didn't work, she called my parents. I got a call from my father and I asked what is going on. I told him and hung up the phone and sent him pictures of my house. He didn't even respond, only arrived 25 minutes later to pick up my sister, and he apologized to me. The story above was just my breaking point, but a lot of crap like this has happened over the years. I am always the last resort. Any issues someone has, they come to me. If someone needs money, I am the one they call. If they need a place to stay, they show up at my house. They need help with something, I am the one. I have always had to sit on the back burner and just be the support for everyone else in their time of need. And when I needed them, they weren't there, and I was told, be a man and sort it out. My parents has been great parents to my younger siblings, 4 kids in total. They have all stayed with me in the past as well, rent-free, no contributions at all. I didn't have a childhood. I became the third parent in the household. Everything regarding my siblings fell onto me. If I have to write everything I have done or been through for my siblings and parents, I will be writing this post for days. I don't really blame my parents, as circumstances was a lot different from when I was a child to my siblings. But the difference in the way we all were raised is evident. My siblings are entitled pieces of crap, to put it nicely, and the world has to bend to their wants. After my mom's constant question, I snapped when she said, "I am being heartless." I just unleashed everything onto them. I was ranting for about 30 minutes while they sat there in silence with their eyes getting bigger as the minutes passed. I finished with saying, "The only reason I am still alive today is because I don't want them to stand next to my grave wondering what they did wrong, so I will be heartless, as I think it's time for me to stop worrying about that. I am just tired of all this crap. I am the backup for everyone in this family." I can see the pain on my parents' faces, as they can't even look me in the eyes anymore. Every time I miss a phone call from one of them, my phone blows up as they think I did something. I fell asleep on the couch yesterday as I worked 36 hours straight and was tired. During my sleep, my father tried to call me, and as I was asleep, I didn't answer his calls. I got woken up as police kicked down my door when my parents showed up at my house after I didn't answer them, and they saw me laying on the couch. The knocking and banging didn't wake me. That was the first time I saw my father cry, as they thought I deleted myself. I think I broke my parents, as my youngest sister told me they just exist in their house and don't even talk to each other. The house is cold and she can hear both my parents just burst out crying sometimes, especially during the night. I just want to know, is there any way to move on with this? Our next post is by Perfect Werewolf. Boyfriend 26M left me 22F on the road with broken leg, unable to get up. Now he says he misses me. On the 6th of October, my partner and I attended a medical ball that my workplace hosted. For some reference, I am a registered nurse, and he is completing an electrical trade and an engineering degree. We had been on the rocks for a while, and the night before the ball, we had gotten into quite a big fight. We'd fight about where our lives were taking us. He wanted to settle down in our small hometown, and I had interests in moving away. Nonetheless, I was willing to settle down with him. However, in the end, it seemed like I was giving up a lot more of my future to suit his desires. I'd travel 100 kilometers to see him most of the time, but he'd complain that an hour was too long to drive to see me. He'd also do things like subscribe to OnlyFans accounts just to see my reaction. The night of the ball, the vibe was off. Despite me trying to introduce him to some of my work colleagues or getting him to dance with me, all he wanted to do was sit at the table and scroll through Facebook. He would often just go outside and talk to his friends on the phone. When we were in the Uber, making our way back to my place, we had gotten into another argument, due to me questioning why he came to the ball. If his intentions were to sit outside and barely speak to me, he didn't like being questioned. He shut down my feelings. As we arrived back at my house, he decided to end things with me. He said it was due to us living 100 kilometers away from each other, and he said that we weren't compatible. At the time, this took me by surprise, and me being me, I started crying. He then proceeded to walk down the street, and I ran after him to try and change his mind. As I done this, he also sprinted ahead. I was wearing heels at the time, and I was running that fast my legs couldn't keep up with the speed I was going, so I fell over quite hard. I could not get back up as my right knee and lower leg hurt too much. I was crying and screaming in pain that I needed help, and he just left me there. My phone was dead at this point, so I waited crying and yelling in agony until someone walked by and called me an ambulance. It turns out that I had a fractured tibia, and I had completely torn my meniscus and PCL, strongest ligament in the knee. Fast forward 2 months, and I have now had a knee reconstruction and am unable to weight bear for 6 to 10 weeks. He has recently messaged me saying how much he misses me and how incomplete his life feels without me. He didn't realize I had broken my leg and messed up the inside of my knee. However, I don't think that's any excuse. Personally, I think if he cared about me or had any human decency, he wouldn't have left me crying in the middle of the road unable to get up. I'm just looking for some advice for what I should do. Update. Thank you for all the comments. A few questions I've seen raised here. In the message I received from him on Saturday, he said how he missed me and his life was incomplete without me. He then went on to say he has next to no will to live and isn't doing well. I guess this has pulled on my emotional strings a little. 1. Did he know afterwards about the damage caused to my leg? Yes, he did. The hospital called him as he was my emergency contact. He didn't answer and they left a voicemail. 2. The following day he tried to contact me. He explained that in the moment he couldn't have cared less what happened to me, but he felt bad for having that thought. He then had the audacity to ask me to be friends as he still generally cared about me. Putting this into writing actually sounds ridiculous. 3. I currently am engaging in psychotherapy. After being raised by a narcissist, I often find it difficult to leave someone on my own accord. I am working on it though. For my entire life, I've been made to feel like I'm the problem, or I'm the one who should apologize and welcome people back into my life with open arms. And after living with a narcissist for 21 years of my life, excluding this year as I moved out of home, it is hard to break the cycle. My ex-partner would say he'd change and be the perfect boyfriend for a while until things would get back into their normal shitty cycle, and toward the end he would become more aggressive, especially when he drank alcohol, which was nearly on the daily. I think by putting up this post and others here confirming my own thoughts, I don't feel like a bad person for keeping him out of my life. I'm still going to remain engaged in therapy, as I do have a lot of issues regarding my own self-respect, and realistically, even feeling bad for the guy shows how little regard I have for myself. All the while, I have a lot of physiotherapy to do, but the worst part is, I have so much time to just sit with my own thoughts while I'm practically immobilized, and I always try to see his side of things. I wish I didn't do this as much as I do. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.